You told a story in your book about an incident you, Tupac, and Big Syke had at the House of Blues with some Rolling 60s. Give me a detailed account about that incident.
Well, basically, man, that incident, it was my first, what I can say, my first a Crip or an encounter with gang members in L.A. Coming from Jersey, coming from the East Coast, West Coast is different. The mindset is different. The street life is different. Whole nother mindset out there. So when we walked into the House of Blues, I believe myself, Pac, Big Syke, Edie, and one of the security guards, off-duty police officer or retired police officer. And while we walking in the House of Blues, there was a female, and she was just yelling at Pac, cursing him out. Pac ignored her. But I was behind Pac, so I heard her saying it, and I said some words back to her. Some disrespectful words back, you know what I mean? And while we walking, we turn around and we see these dudes get up. These dudes is huge, like Shaquille O'Neal saw huge. Two of these jokers got up, and it seemed like they didn't stop getting up, And they started walking towards us. And I remember I was like, oh man, but of course I can't show that I'm afraid or I have any fear, but I'm like, these dudes, it look like we gonna need more than five of us to jump these two dudes. So I remember they started walking over, and I'm mean mugging. I'm looking, I'm still 5'6". These dudes, these dudes in the NBA player size, but I'm still trying to look tough. And while they walking over, I remember first I heard Pac tell the security guard, like, pull your gun out. I remember Pac wasn't afraid at all, but Pac looked at the security and said, what you doing? Pull your gun out. Like, you know what I mean? These dudes walking up on us, pull your strap out. And the security guard didn't do it. And then while they started walking, Big Syke got in their face and started talking to him, let him know, what's up, homie, this and this, I'm Big Syke. Because they was Crips. Big Syke was a Crip from IVC, Imperial Village Crips. And he started explaining what was up. And he was like, that's the little homies from Jersey, this and this and that. And, and then they walked away. So after that, Big Syke gave me a breakdown of how, he's like, look here, bro. I know you guys from the East Coast. I know you're a little wild. You do all that crazy stuff. But here on the West Coast, the game is different, man. He said, you also have to, you never know whose sister you disrespecting. You might disrespect the sister of a stone cold murderer out here. You know what I mean? So he's like, you got to be careful, bro. You on the West Coast now. You know what I mean? So that was like my first education in the gang, the Bloods and Crips, scenarios in the West Coast, man. And they might have been, both of them jokers was the same size, so they might have been brothers. And you know what I mean? So and I think Big Syke knew who they was, and if I'm not mistaken, Big Syke was the one to say these dudes from Rolling 60s, they killers. He's like, so that's why you have to be careful whose sister you disrespect. And then of course Pac got mad because we had an incident. I think a few times where I kind of cursed. Pac wasn't with disrespecting women. You know what I mean? Like, even though you hear people saying a few times I got out of line and said some disrespectful comments or some vulgar words at women, and Pac used to always say, you can't treat women like that. He put me in this place. And that time, it could have got bloody out there.
The incident where some dudes from Oakland pressed Tupac on Wilshire. Tell me about that.
So these dudes, they was from Marin City, Oakland, the Bay Area. And we was driving and we was in Park Roads. Myself, Pac, of course, driving. Edie was in the car, and Young Noble was in the car. Castro was in the car behind us with one of the security guards, armed security guard. So when we came out of Wilshire, Pac come out of his penthouse, and the car pulled up on the side of him, and they were just mouthing off like this Bay Area Pac, you a buster, and you this and this and this and that, and I'm sitting I'm sitting right behind Pac. So it's a convertible. The drop top is down, so I'm looking at these dudes and they mouthing off at Pac, and I'm looking at Pac like, what you want us to do? So, but Pac, at that particular time, he had things in the car that he shouldn't have in the car. So if the police come, and Pac had 2 strikes. A lot of people don't know Pac had 2 strikes. In California, where you get a 3rd strike, back then you go to jail for life. So Pac used to say, wow, before we get in the car, he used to say, make sure this gun is not in the car while I'm riding in, or these substance or whatever is not in the car. But I believe at that particular time he had something in the car. So I remember, they pulled up again, and Pac was like, okay, pull over there, pull over. Even though Pac, because one thing about Pac, his personality, he don't back down. But he had a look on his face where he was like, man, not again, this ignorant stuff, like, you know. But he was like, okay, pull up over there. So by the time we got to the light, I just jumped out. I was like, I can't take it no more. I ran to the first guy, smacked him, and then I ran across the car and did some other crazy stuff to the other guy. And they went from like talking all this gangster stuff to saying, Pac, 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 tell him to stop, tell him to stop. And maybe because the security jumped out of the car with Castro in the back, and maybe they probably didn't know we had some people in the back, you know what I mean? So they went from talking all this gangster stuff to begging Pac to get me off of him. And I remember later on, we went back to the house, and Edie was like, yeah, Moo, you got to keep representing like that. And Pac was like, no, you don't do that. You're going to get shot out here in California jumping out on people's cars. So, you know, Pac was always trying to educate us. It's not like he was trying to throw us out there, you know what I mean, to be, you know, just some, like, pawns. He was just like, no, you don't do that. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't tell you to get out and do it. And also, you in California jumping out on cars, you get shot. So he was kind of upset at it, you know?
Snoop, I remember him doing an interview with the Breakfast Club some years ago, and he told a story about an incident where somebody confronted Tupac, and they tried to like rob him, and Tupac like pulled out a gun or something. It was something like that he said on Breakfast Club some years ago.
It might be, like I said, Pac was always heated. He always had a gun on him, bro. That's how he was from the time that I met him to the time of his demise. He always stayed strapped. You know what I mean? And a lot of people, when they say, oh, well, he wasn't raised like that, that's actually not true. Because the way Pac was raised, and, you know, when you have these people, he wasn't a gangster. He never once said he was a gangster, but the way Pac was raised, coming from that Black Panther Party, he learned how to shoot at a young age. You know what I mean? He learned how to take the Black Panther, the uncles and them from the Black Panther used to teach him how to take guns apart. So that was part of his culture, of his upbringing, to be able to protect yourself. You know what I mean? So I guess growing up and with that mindset and learning this from your mother and from your uncles, he just was an individual who always had a strap on him. Majority of the times, you know?